All right, we are recording. So welcome everyone. Thank you for tuning into Dinner with the Doctors. Like I said, today we will be talking all about adrenals and stress and what we can do about it, how we can make ourselves more resilient to the stressors in our lives, because as most of us have seen over the past year and a half or so, there's a lot of stressors that we can't necessarily control. So it's really about controlling what we can to help ourselves feel the best possible. So what I want to take the time to do first is just kind of introduce myself and Be Optimal. So my name is Dr. Abby Kramer. I'm a chiropractor and holistic physician at Be Optimal Holistic Health Center that is in Glenview, Illinois, soon to be Skokie. We're moving just a few minutes up the road, so don't freak out if you hear that. We are not going far, but we're going to a bigger space, so it's a very happy move. So what we do is myself and Dr. Carrie Jacobson, we are chiropractic kinesiologists, meaning we're chiropractors. So of course, that's part of what we'll do, and we'll talk about that a bit today. But we also use kinesiology testing to help determine where imbalances are in people's systems. So we work very holistically. We work a lot with diet and nutrition and supplementation and homeopathics and energy medicine techniques, all these things to just help us feel and function as a self. And at our center, we truly believe in having something for everyone. So we have free talks and workshops like this. We have an amazing acupuncturist and doctor of Chinese medicine. We have reflexology. We have a holistic esthetician. We have ionic foot detox baths. So we've got all these different amazing modalities, which you can read more about on our website. But we've got something for everyone, wherever they're at in their healing journey. And that's what we're all about. So the basis of how we work, which I want to introduce this first before we get into the nitty gritty of adrenals and stress, is we use the model called the Triad of Health. So I want you guys to think of a triangle. Think about your health like a triangle with three sides. And basically, when we're talking about any symptom one could experience, so something like anxiety, let's say, there's kind of three different areas that can contribute to that symptom popping up. So the base of the triangle is our physical structure. Okay, so I don't know how many of you guys are familiar with chiropractic. Oh, okay. So in classic chiropractic, the kind of foundation of our training is that the nervous system controls every function of the body, including our stress response. And so a happy, healthy, balanced nervous system is going to function better and respond to stress better. And patients have reported this, studies have shown this, that getting a chiropractic adjustment can help lower the stress response in the body, help people feel more calm, help them be in a more rested state. So our physical health is really important to how resilient we are to stress. As is, the next side of the triangle is our biochemistry. So that's kind of all the internal processes happening in our system at any given time. So this is things like diet and nutrition. The food we're putting in our body is very important. Supplements, any medications and things that might be causing in the body. Inflammation levels, hormones, our hydration status, how well we're sleeping, kind of all those processes going on inside that we might not think about. So the biochemistry, obviously, when we're talking about things like stress, that's super important. And then the last side of this triangle is mental and emotional health. We know that is huge with stress. It's been a huge stressor for people the last year or so. And so I'm going to give you guys a couple of tools and strategies to help handle that side too. But how I practice is any patient that's coming to see me, we're addressing and looking at all three of those sides of the Triad of Health. Okay. So I just wanted to kind of lay that foundation because we're going to go back into that as we talk about the adrenals. So the adrenal glands, let's talk about what they are. So the adrenal glands are two kind of triangle shaped hormonal glands, and they sit right on top of your kidneys, kind of in your back. Okay. And what they do, these are the hormone glands that respond to stress. So for example, if you've got to cross the street and there's a car coming really fast and you've got to run super fast so that car doesn't hit you, that is your adrenal response kicking in. Or it's when you hear stories like a mom lifting a car, right? Because her baby is under it, right? That like super strength. They're called the adrenal glands because of adrenaline. The hormone adrenaline is like a go, 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 get you going hormone. Okay. Other hormones are involved with the adrenal system. It's not just adrenaline, things like epinephrine, norepinephrine, cortisol. It's the stress response in the body. It's what kicks us into what a lot of people call fight or flight. That quick response, like think of our ancestors, you got to run from a tiger. That's the adrenal system kick into gear. However, the problem in modern day is that this adrenal system of the body is only meant to work short term. We're only meant to really use it when you got to run from the tiger for a few minutes and then you can rest because now you're safe. However, for a lot of us in modern society, just due to the stress in our lives, our adrenal system is working all the time because it's a subconscious system. It's just going, we can't necessarily control it. And so it gets spiraling out of control and doesn't know how to regulate very well. And so when the adrenal system is overworked or chronically going and going and going, a lot of people experience what's called adrenal fatigue. And this has become kind of a buzzword. A lot of people have heard about it, but I kind of want to break down a bit of it because a lot of people, I feel like, get way too specific on, am I in adrenal fatigue or what stage of adrenal fatigue am I in? And that doesn't necessarily matter. We just want to look for these red flags that system is under a little too much stress and is a little taxed. Okay. So here I wrote down some common symptoms of adrenal imbalances or adrenal fatigue to look out for. So things like low energy. A lot of my patients that are struggling with their adrenal health, they feel like, oh my gosh, I could sleep for 10 hours and I would still be exhausted. Okay. It's like, no matter how much you sleep, you're still tired. So just having low energy. Another really common adrenal pattern is needing to nap in the afternoon. Ideally, we shouldn't have to take naps as adults. We should get the full amount of sleep we need at night and have plenty of energy during the day. So if your system is so depleted that every afternoon you could easily crash and take a nap, it's time to work on your adrenal health. Okay. Really common for adrenal people to crash between like 2 and 4 in the afternoon. That kind of after lunch snooze is very popular. Okay. Anxiety and mood stabilization issues. A lot of people, and many people know this, for example, moms that have had children with young children where you're super stressed and busy all the time, you just tend to be more snappy. Or if you, like, your husband says one wrong thing and you just snap, right? And it's not really logical, just a little bit more snippy than usual. Could definitely mean adrenals are taxed. So just your mood isn't very stable. It just takes one extra thing to throw you over the edge. Another really common interesting one is feeling really jumpy or reactive. So like something falls and it startles you and you like scream or jump, or you didn't expect to see someone and you're very jumpy. That can often mean you're at like the top, you're at that fight and flight space. So just one extra stimulus. Another thing, especially in kids, people notice is they're very sensitive like to loud noises. It's like too much stimulation for the nervous system. Can mean the adrenals are really stressed out. Another really common one for folks, especially at nighttime, is feeling wired and tired. So it's like you feel so physically exhausted, like you could absolutely fall asleep, but you're wired. Your brain is like, go, 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 go. Okay, that's really common. And we'll talk a bit about cortisol imbalances and how that plays into that in a little bit, but look out for that. People that are very sensitive to caffeine or coffee, like they have 1 cup of coffee and feel shaky or jittery, that can be a sign of adrenal imbalance. Weight gain, especially in women, I see this, holding on to weight around the belly. That is usually very highly correlated with cortisol and elevated stress levels. So until we can lower those stress hormone levels, it's very hard to lose that weight. Super common in women that are like, I just have this extra 15 pounds right around my midsection I can't get rid of. Many times that's a cortisol adrenal thing. People that are like addicted to exercise, high intensity exercise that they love, they're super, super hard workout every day. That oftentimes is giving you like a false high. It's giving you that energy your body craves because you're actually so tired. Those people, and we'll get to this more in a little bit, would benefit more from nice and easy exercise like a yoga practice or something than like killing themselves in the gym. Hormonal dysfunction is really common with adrenal imbalances because it's a hormonal system. So all of these systems, got to remember the body acts as a whole, right? No one system acts alone. So if the adrenals are out of balance, the hormones are going to take a hit, etc. So some people we see come in with their primary complaint is hormonal issues, maybe issues with menopause or menstrual cycles, etc. But it really at the core of it is more of an adrenal issue. Food cravings are really big. That's one of my biggest signs for my own body. I know I'm like stressed and need more adrenal support when I start going down the path of like, I need dark chocolate every day to survive life. It's like, okay, a little too stressed. We need to address that. So it's something to look out for. A lot of people crave salty or sweet or both. Okay. And the last one that's super common, there are more, but these are kind of the main ones I thought of that I see a lot, is feeling lightheaded or a little dizzy when you stand up quickly or when you lay down quickly. So a lot of people like they'll get out of bed, and if they get up too quickly, they like take a minute to rebalance. Your body should ideally be able to do that in a split second and you don't notice. So another thing the adrenals help dictate is blood pressure. And your blood pressure has to compensate when you change positions, like going to standing, going to laying back down. If the adrenals are sluggish and fatigued, they can't quite keep up when you move quickly. And so that can show up for people. It's actually really cool because when you start supporting the adrenals, all of a sudden that goes away for people and it's super nice. So, all right. So now I've kind of given you some examples that like, hey, lights are flashing if those things are happening for you. So now what can we do about it? How can we help those adrenal glands get back into balance and restore their health? So this is where I want to go back to that Triad of Health model. So what can we do structurally on like a physical level to help the adrenal glands? What can we do with our biochemistry, with what we're putting in our body, and how it can support them emotionally? So structural first. I kind of spoke to this a bit in the beginning, but chiropractic, if the nervous system is really dysregulated and stuck in that fight or flight mode, chiropractic adjustments can be super powerful to help pull the body into a parasympathetic state, which means like a resting state. Many people with chronic adrenal imbalances, their system is stuck in a sympathetic state or like that fight or flight response. So chiropractic can be a nice way to kind of like force the body back into a more of a happy, balanced place. So see a chiropractor, of course, would be one of my recommendations. Another one is I want to talk about exercise. I kind of mentioned this earlier that with people that are chronically stressed and have adrenal issues, it's almost working against you if you're exercising too hard because the body is already stressed up to here when you're in adrenal fatigue, and a super intense workout, even though many times it's a very healthy thing to do that, we also have to look at it as it's another stress on the body. Even though it's a good stress, it's still a stress. So when you're working on healing your adrenals, I recommend more gentle, easy movement. Moving your body is still great. It's still super important. It's great for your mood. It's great for your health. It's just not the time to go balls to the wall at like CrossFit or Orange Theory or whatever, boot camp class. Okay. So I recommend things more like walking, swimming, yoga practice, biking. You should be going at a speed where you feel like you could be with your friend next to you and you're having a conversation. You're moving your body, but you're not like you can't talk. You're not crazy sore. You're not like giving it all on the gym floor. Okay. And I want to give you guys a formula. If someone can put it in the notes, that would be great while I'm saying this. I personally love for my adrenal folks to give them a heart rate range to be in when they are exercising to make sure they're not overdoing it. And so this comes from the work of a guy named Dr. Phil Maffetone. He's an awesome applied kinesiologist. He works with world-class athletes. He's the best. So like these world-class people train with him to break their own world records. And so he actually has his athletes train at a very low heart rate because it gives them longevity and helps their endurance, keeps them from getting injured, keeps them from taxing their adrenal glands. So his work is brilliant. You guys can look him up. But his formula is you take 180 minus your age, and then you take -5 from that. So if I was a 30-year-old, I take 180 minus 30, which is 150, minus another 5, which would be 145. That would be the top number I'd want my heart rate to be at when I'm exercising. Okay. Now that's for a 30-year-old. If you're older, it's going to be much lower. Okay. And most people are like, oh my gosh, that's so low. I would be like fast walking. And my answer is yes. But as you keep going, it gets easier and easier. So you get the top number, which that example is 145. You subtract 10, which would be 135. So for a 30-year-old, the range you're aiming for in your exercise is between 135 and 145 beats per minute. So if you have a heart rate monitor, I recommend the ones with a chest strap. They're way more accurate than just like a wrist Apple Watch situation, but that's better than nothing. During your walk, your jog, your swim, your bike, whatever you're doing, you want to aim for your heart rate to be in that range. That is a range that is going to promote a healthy metabolism. It's going to help your body burn fat instead of burn sugar, which most of us want that. It's going to help the endurance of your heart. Our heart is a muscle, so we don't want to only be exercising it at max intensity. We want to be doing some lower intensity as well. And it's going to help not stress the adrenal glands. So it's really important, if for anything, for that purpose, a couple times a week, to be exercising and moving your body in that heart rate range, because it's not going to tax your system too much and send you into like that fight or flight mode, if that makes sense. Okay. So I recommend to people, like if you start anything, get a heart rate monitor. You can buy them now for super cheap on like Amazon. Just look up heart rate monitor with chest strap and throw that sucker on no matter what you're doing. Like I said, any type of movement activity, and aim to be in that heart rate zone, and it's super effective. Okay, so that's kind of some physical tips for the adrenal glands. Next, we want to talk biochemistry, okay? So like I was saying, when we're in adrenal fatigue, the system, the body is in a state of heightened stress. So even down to what we eat, we want to put in the foods that stress us the least, okay? Because you can also say that certain foods cause excess stress on the body. So first I'm going to talk about what those foods are, the ones to avoid and why you should avoid them. And then I'll talk about foods that can be really nutrient dense and really healing for the adrenals. So I'm going to talk about 5 foods that I want you guys to avoid if you're working on healing your adrenals, okay? Number 1 is processed sugar, okay? This should not be a surprise to anyone. We all love it, but it's super unhealthy. And sugar is really inflammatory and really stressful on the body. It spikes the blood sugar super, super fast, and then you crash. And so then so does your energy, so does your mood. We've all had days like that, or holidays, like Thanksgiving's the perfect example. You have this huge meal and you like have to take a nap an hour later. Okay. So we don't want every day to be like that. We want a nice stable blood sugar level. Okay. So processed sugars, that's things in packaged and processed foods, cookies, cakes, desserts, like all the carby, yummy baked goods. Okay. Number 2 is wheat or gluten. I don't say this because everyone has a gluten allergy. I say this because it's highly inflammatory and it's very, very toxic because of the pesticides and how we produce wheat in America, unfortunately. It's a little bit of a different story if you're in Europe. They just treat their crops better and do a better job. Our stuff is, there's basically no nutrient left in it. It's pretty much a sugar. So there's about as much sugar in a sandwich and like 2 pieces of white bread as there is in a Snickers bar. So it's going to do the same thing in your body as just having a bunch of sugar. So I recommend just taking out refined carbohydrates. Again, with adrenals, we want to keep the blood sugar and the body as stable as possible and not throw off energy levels. So I see this a lot with folks with the afternoon crash we were talking about. A lot of people for lunch, they'll have a sandwich, a couple slices of bread, like a little bag of potato chips, and maybe like a couple little cookies, right? Basically a huge sugar carbohydrate bomb. And then a couple hours later, you can barely see straight and need a nap, right? It's just not setting us up to feel as like stable and good energy as we need to. Okay. So wheat is number 2. Number 3 is corn. For very similar reasons. Corn is like a grainy carbohydrate. It's just kind of a filler. look out for it in gluten-free products because many gluten-free products are made with corn flour. And it's kind of a similar thing. Doesn't really have any nutrient value, is really high in carbohydrates and sugars. Otherwise, a lot of people are getting corn from like popcorn snackers or corn chips. So same thing, these white kind of highly processed foods just aren't doing us any favors. So scale back. Okay, number 4 is dairy. Dairy is another one that's really inflammatory. It can, in some people, majorly throw off their hormones because milk products are hormonal products, if you think about it, right? The cow's milk is made by big
You're frozen.
Okay, sorry about that, everyone. We'll give it a moment and see if Dr. Abby pops back on. I'm going to message her really quick and see if she's aware. Just a moment. Dr. Abby, you're muted.
Oh my gosh, is it fine now?
Yeah, sorry, you were frozen for a while, and now you just came back on. And
All right. I think we're good in Zoom land now. Okay. So number 4 to avoid was dairy. Can cause a lot of hormonal issues, acne, mucus production, things like that. Number 5 is soy. Soy, you'll find in a lot of dairy replacements. It got really popular when people realized, dairy is not so good for me anymore. I want a different alternative. But now we're learning there's some other detrimental effects from soy. So if you're looking to replace dairy, I recommend something like a nut milk, like an almond milk. I really love macadamia nut milk. Some people love coconut milk. So you kind of got to try different things to find what you like there. So now that I took away like all those foods, we're going to talk about what you can eat, what will help actually restore the adrenal glands back into balance. And so I want you guys to think about foods that, like if you're sick and your mom was making you something yummy to make you feel better, what would you have? You would probably have like a stew with some vegetables and some protein, like easy to digest, highly nutrient dense foods. That's what we want to go for. So I want you guys to focus on protein. Of course, high quality is important. Okay, so we want to choose organic, pasture raised, grass fed whenever possible. But high quality protein is super, super nutrient dense, and the adrenals really need proteins and fats to function well. Okay, so protein, healthy fat is next, super important. Make sure you're cooking with like really high quality, good fats, things like organic olive oil, coconut oil. I personally really like grass-fed butter. I consider it to be more of a fat than necessarily a dairy product, as long as it's good quality. It's actually really good for you. Seeds, nuts are good sources of healthy fats, as are things like avocados. Okay, so I encourage patients, especially that struggle with energy, to really focus on getting healthy fats. A lot of, especially I find women, tend to not eat that many fats. It might be a smoothie in the morning or some fruit or some cereal, maybe a sandwich or a salad at lunch, and then like some chicken and broccoli for dinner, right? It's basically no fat. Okay, so I want you guys to think about how can you incorporate some healthy fats into every meal. So maybe with breakfast, you're throwing half of an avocado in a smoothie. You won't even taste it. It'll give it some nice healthy fat, or some coconut oil, or putting some extra grass-fed butter on your toast, right? At lunch, an extra drizzle of olive oil on your salad for an extra serving of healthy fat. At dinner, a little slab of grass-fed butter on top of your chicken or steak. Okay, so extra fats give you the longest energy burn out of any food you can consume. So especially people that are very on the go, maybe don't have time to be like snacking all day long. Fat will keep you going longer. You won't feel as hungry if your smoothie in the morning has lots of healthy fat in it, if that makes sense. Okay, so think about where you can throw in some extra fats throughout your day. And I also want to drive the point home of eating fat does not equal fat on your body. It's a big misnomer we all got in like the 90s and early 2000s that everything needs to be low fat to lose weight. Eating healthy fats, that's not the case. Sure, if you're eating deep fried foods and all these like high fat processed foods, that's a different story. But healthy fats are actually really good for you and help a lot of people lose weight because they feel more satiated and then they don't eat as much. Okay. Next on the list of things to eat, vegetables. Go crazy with vegetables. They're great for you. They're great with some healthy fats. So some oil or some butter. You can't go really wrong there. Some people have sensitivities to certain vegetables, but you know, it's not the majority. And then last, fruit sparingly. Okay. This is a kind of a trap a lot of people get into, especially that crave sugars. Is certainly better to eat fruits than candy bars. However, fruits are also higher in sugar. So you're better off snacking on something like nuts or seeds. It's really easy to eat a ton of fruit without thinking about it. You got a bowl of grapes next to you, you could eat that whole thing. And before you know it, you had 30 grams of sugar, right? And unless you're doing a nice workout or something, your body's going to store some of that as fat. So also going to spike blood, sugar levels, all the things we're talking about trying to avoid. So my rule of thumb is to try to never have a naked carbohydrate. Fruits are carbohydrates, okay? So if you're going to snack in an apple, amazing, awesome, but pair it with a protein or a fat. So like some nut butter, okay? Or a handful of nuts, or have it with a couple slices of avocado. It'll help your body burn that energy much longer and cleaner. Because a lot of people will notice they snack on a banana an hour later, you're hungry again. Because carbs are just fast, quick energy. It's not bad, it just is what it is. Okay, so don't do naked carbohydrates. Okay. Next, in kind of the biochemistry side of the Triad of Health, I want to talk about some supplements, some products that I personally love to help that stress response, help heal the adrenal glands. Okay. And these are all, just so you guys know, well, first of all, disclaimer, this isn't medical advice. So if you want to buy any of these, it's your own decision. I'm not prescribing anything, but these are just things that have been known to help our patients. Okay. So this one is called Regenerzyme Adrenal. It's by a company called Vervita Nutrition Products. And think about this one like a multivitamin for your adrenal glands. It's a great starting place if you want to work on healing that system. And it's got a bunch of different things in it that support adrenal pathways in the body. But one of the things I wanted to highlight and talk about is it has what's called adrenal glandular substance in it, meaning they take, it sounds weird, but they take a cow's adrenal glands and put it in a capsule. It's the idea that it's like a whole food-based healing approach. Our ancestors, even not that long ago, even people today still eat liver on a regular basis because they know it's super good for your liver, right? So people used to eat like every organ, like organ meats were very common for people to eat back in the day. We don't really do that so much anymore. You can supplement with it. So it gives your body the raw components it needs to rebuild those adrenal glands. So this one is awesome. You take it in the morning because it's got a bunch of stuff that gives you energy. So it's a great, just regular support for that adrenal system. Okay, next, this one is called Adaptogen R3 by Premier Research Labs. It's a blend of adaptogenic herbs. Adaptogens are a really cool classification of herbs that they do just what the name says. They help you adapt to stress. So if you need help like calming down after a long day and you feel really wired, they help you come down. If you're exhausted and you need energy, they help give you a boost. They have this really beautiful balancing effect on the body. So this is a great product for vegetarians, because obviously this other adrenal one would not be vegetarian. Great way to support a healthy stress response. Okay, next one, very similar, is called Reishi Supreme. A lot of people have heard of like reishi mushroom is kind of all the rage. It's a mushroom, that's it. But reishi mushrooms are another class of adaptogens. Help your body adapt to stress. I take this one every day. I love it. It's a great, gentle, food-based approach to just support your body's natural stress response. Okay, this one is called Calms, also by Vervita, the same company as the first one I talked about. And it does just that. It helps keep you calm. So it's a blend of herbs that are very calming to the nervous system. I've had kids take this, adults. It's a great product. I think of this more with adrenal people that feel really anxious all the time. Okay. I wouldn't necessarily think of this right away with someone that's exhausted all day. I think of it with the person that's like running, or has anxiety. Okay. Next one. This one is amazing for anxiety. It's called Lavella by Integrative Therapeutics. It's like one of my favorite supplements of all time. It's essential oil lavender in a capsule. So we've all heard, first of all, I love essential oils for so many things. This is the only one I'm going to talk about tonight, but we've all heard lavender is super calming, right? That's why all the spas use it, and it's like aromatherapy, all of that. Well, when taken orally, it's even more powerful and it's very calming. And they actually did a clinical research study on this product against anti-anxiety medication, and it performed better in the study. Pretty awesome. So highly recommend. I have kids take it, adults, anyone with anxiety. This is like a great place to start. Okay, this one I want to talk about because it's kind of a little bit different for the most part. I have people take it at night. It's called Cortisol Manager by Integrative Therapeutics. So part of what happens when the adrenals are out of balance is we have something called a cortisol clock. So cortisol is a big stress hormone. In the morning, it should follow a very distinct pattern throughout the day. In the morning, it should be nice and high, and we should wake up like bright-eyed, enthusiastic, ready for the day with plenty of energy. It kind of ebbs and flows throughout the day. And then at night, it really lowers, which allows you to fall asleep. Okay. People with chronic adrenal dysfunction, a lot of times their cortisol clock is in complete reverse. So in the morning, it's super, super low, super hard to get out of bed, completely exhausted, takes them like 2 hours and 3 cups of coffee to be functional. Okay. And at the end of the day, their cortisol actually spikes and gets really high. And these are the people that are like, I get a second wind and at 9 p.m. I could do 3 hours of work, right? That's a problem. At 9 p.m., you should be getting ready for bed and starting to feel sleepy. Okay. So if that sounds like you, Cortisol Manager would be lovely for you. I have my patients take it at night because it helps lower cortisol and stress hormones at night when they should be lowering. And I'm spending so much time on nutritional products today because I feel like with the stress of our world, honestly, a lot of people need to like force their physiology to calm down. It's like not enough anymore to just like start doing meditation every night. I feel like a lot of people need the extra supplemental support, and that's what takes them to the next level and gets them feeling way better. Sometimes you just need, it's like a little bit gentler version of a medication. Like you need something to support your body through stressful times. Okay, a couple more. Next, this is really cool. This is a homeopathic remedy. So different. It's like energy medicine. It's a blend of a bunch of different homeopathics. It's called ER911. It's a spray in water. You shake it up, do 8 to 10 sprays under your tongue. And it's called ER911 because it's like when you're in that 911 anxiety stressed place, it calms the nervous system down. This one's great because it's totally safe for pregnant women, kids, babies, toddlers throwing tantrums, anyone that just gets to that stressed out space. It's very calming. My mom's always have like 3 bottles of this in their house at all times. It's awesome. And you can't overdose on it. Some of these other supplements, you wouldn't want to take too much of it. You kind of want to take it with someone guiding you through the process. This is super, super safe, gentle, easy peasy. ER911 homeopathic. Okay, last but not least, I also love for stress CBD products. Okay, this brand is called Fringe Cbd. And what's really cool about it is it's a powder. So different than oil-based or like gummies, like a lot of people have heard about. It's a flavorless, odorless powder. You take 1 stick pack, you put it in water, in coffee, in tea, in your smoothie. It doesn't taste like anything. And it gets you 20 milligrams of CBD. So it's really cool. It's really absorbable for the body. And there's no THC or anything. It's just like taking a CBD product. And CBD is also very, very balancing for the body. So a lot of people rave about it for anxiety, stress, helping them sleep, etc. So all of those products I talked about, you guys can shop for. Some of them are online in our store. Some of them are not. It just depends on if we're able to sell them online or not. But if you're interested in any of them, you can check out our online store, or you can reach out to our office at any time. We ship supplements all over the world, or you can come by and pick something up at our store. So beoptimal.com, BE Optimal, or you can call us 847-486-8000 if you have questions about any of that. Okay, last but not least, going back to that Triad of Health is emotions and stress. This is huge, right? Like the stressors in our lives, emotional things, family stress, health stress. That's absolutely a piece of the puzzle when it comes to the adrenal glands. So we have to have tools and strategies for stress relief and stress management. Like all the CBD in the world isn't going to help that if don't have some sort of like self-care practices to manage our stress better. So we've got to address like that stress response being triggered in the system and what we can do. So a lot of times for people, they get stuck in this fight or flight pattern after a time of trauma or like a really stressful period. So I'm seeing a lot of people right now that are really finally addressing the stress from COVID. It's now been 1.5 years and people are kind of hitting their breaking point and they're like, I need some support. And then it's hard to come out of that fight or flight, that intense response, just because things are better. It's not as intense as it was 1.5 years ago. It might still feel that intense in your body. Okay, so I'm going to teach you guys a quick breathing technique that works with the acupuncture meridian system to help balance your energy, help neutralize those emotional responses in like 2 minutes. It's super great. Also know this technique is amazing for kids. So if you have kids, grandkids, if you're a teacher, I have teachers that teach it to their kids in their classroom. It's an awesome tool to have something tangible you can do in the moment when you're feeling stressed. So you guys can use this however you want. If you want to start your day this way, when you lay down for bed before you fall asleep, or just use it as a tool when you feel a lot of anxiety or stress coming up for you. So what you're going to do is you're going to take one hand, okay, and we're going to be touching where you would feel your pulse. But what you're going to do, how can I show you guys this the best way? This way, probably. You're going to reach around with your other hand. Second finger is going to go right under your thumb. Third finger, fourth finger. Okay. If you're on the right spot, you'll feel your pulse. 3 fingers, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Now this hand is going to go on your forehead like this while you keep your other fingers wrapped around your wrist. Okay. Your fingers are touching on this spot. Those are the reflex points or pulse points in acupuncture. Okay. It's going to help normalize all those meridians. So what you're going to do while your hand is on your forehead, you're going to close your eyes and connect to whatever's currently stressing you out. It might be family stress, health, friends, work, the world, whatever it is, and close your eyes and just connect to whatever feeling comes up for you. So it might be anxiety, it might be panic, it might be anger, it might be grief or sadness, whatever it is for you in that moment, connect to that emotion. And you're going to take 3 big breaths and focus on blowing that feeling out. So whatever it is, fear, anger, stress. And after you do 3 breaths and blow that feeling out, you're going to do the same thing, but on the other side. So you're going to take your other wrist, second finger, third finger, fourth finger, hand on your forehead. Close your eyes, connect to whatever the stressful experience or person or situation is. Connect to the emotion you're feeling around it. 3 big breaths and blow it out. Okay. The reason we do that on both sides is because there's different acupuncture meridians on different sides of the body. Okay. So we want to make sure to do both sides. Now, I love that because it's so fast. It's so easy. You can do that in your car before you go in for an appointment. Like I said, end of day, beginning of the day. Other practices I love, like I love a meditation practice, but for some people it's simple. It's more simple to have a tangible thing they can do that takes 2 minutes. Okay. But I also want to encourage you guys, if you're working on adrenals and stress in your own body, to come up with some sort of daily or weekly ritual time for yourself. For some people, they're like, I have to have time in nature on a weekly basis. It grounds me. I feel so much better. I feel so much better outside. Then you've got to schedule it and make sure you're doing that, you know, on a weekly basis. For some people, it's getting like massage or body work done, or acupuncture, or just having a day off of computers and emails, or journaling. There's no right or wrong way to do self-care and stress relief. But what I do know is when most people finally end up making time for it, it's like almost too late. It's never too late, but just to make it part of your regular routine is so, so important when we're constantly inundated with so much stress. Okay. So start thinking about that and plan for it accordingly, because I say this all the time. You can't pour from an empty cup, right? We've got to be replenishing ourselves just as much as we're outputting. Okay. So last but not least, I just want to talk about how we can help it be optimal. Okay. So as chiropractic kinesiologists, both Dr. Carrie and myself, working with one of us will get you on more specific protocols based on your needs. All the things we talked about tonight is a great place to start. Will absolutely help you. But if you feel like you need a more individualized approach, or you're like, I've tried some of the supplements, they haven't worked for me, I'm not sure what kind of diet I should be on, etc., then it's time to, you know, benefit from like more of a individualized one-on-one approach. Okay, so that's what we can do. We use kinesiology testing to determine specifically what your body needs, because what worked for your sister or your neighbor might not be what's best for you. And so it kind of takes the guesswork out. And from that technique I just taught you guys, with the pulse points, that comes from a technique called neuro-emotional technique, or NET. You guys can read more about that on our website. It's an amazing mind-body stress relief tool to really get into the subconscious patterning of what's being triggered to stay in this fight or flight response. And it's a really, really powerful healing modality that both Dr. Carey and myself are certified in and use a lot of. And then there's additional testing if we need to. So we do offer a test called the Dutch test. It's a hormone and cortisol test that can really look nitty gritty into what's going on with someone's system. Like I was talking about the cortisol clock and the levels throughout the day. We can really assess that if we need to and see if like further interventions are needed. So if that sounds like something you guys need, you can always call our office to schedule if you want to get into that more personalized approach. But certainly all the tips we talked about today can absolutely help you. So that's about all I have for tonight. So if you guys on Instagram have any other questions, feel free to throw them out quick, or I will end that part of the call. Thanks for hopping on, you guys. All righty. Have a good one. Okay. And I'm going to stop live.